On Monday, February 27, 2023, Nagaland voted to pick their legislators to the 14th Legislative Assembly. Through this video, you will travel with us through Dimapur. You will see snapshots of polling stations where people cast their votes in India. You will see good roads and bad. For those of you who haven't visited Dimapur, here is your chance to see it free of traffic, which is almost never the case. Only one of the roads is repeated. Please note that the images you see throughout will not always match the places whose names you hear in this narration. There are parts where I have spoken without a mic. When I have a mic, I stumble. With apologies, I request you to please keep your subtitles on throughout the video. All women polling station, model polling station, including security forces and officers, surely. You can see that lines are divided between gents and ladies. I'm here at PS 23, 1 Dimapur 1. The queue hasn't moved in the past half an hour. They have stalled the voting process in some way. Whatever is happening here is not clear, but they're not letting voters go. A possibility of backdoor voting, but also a possibility that the presence of media personnel has made them stall the voting process entirely. Such scenes will unfold more as we cover the 14th Nagaland Legislative Assembly election. I was not sure how to go about observing the elections this year. I'm not a journalist this year, unlike in 2013 and 18. But it was impossible for me to miss out on observing what the Election Commission of India had termed a festival of democracy. These days, everything in India seems to be a festival. Democracy, Rozgar, employment, knowledge, Independence Day, Republic Day. Everything political is now a festival. As a citizen of India, I had to look for this festival. How will we celebrate where celebration is obviously due? At Government High School, Thilikha village, and hoping that at least here, next to the Thilikha Baptist Church, there will be clean election. Let's find out what it really will be. This is polling station 25. You can see the CCTV. It is a model polling station because there is CCTV recording here. And here is an officer, booth level officer, who is showing this to me. Thank you very much. The principal correspondent of the Morong Express, Imkong Walling, kindly consented to take me along. We skimmed and skirted the empty roads of Dimapur, Newland and Chumokidima on his bike. When we started this day, we had no idea what we were looking for. Imkong had seen and participated in electioneering in Nagaland his entire life. This is only the third time I was observing them. Let us take a look at the model polling stations, we thought. They seem to suggest the perfect practice of the universal adult franchise. We reached Burma camp in this pursuit. A model polling station of women polling officers and women security personnel. A long queue of women and a separate queue for men. Some were sitting on chairs, some on the ground under the shade of the polling station CGI roof. Most polling stations are government schools. The queue had not moved since the time the voters had reached the polling station at 7 a.m. It was 1 p.m. when we reached the spot. Nothing moved. Polling had come to a standstill. A polling agent of the BJP came to ask us if we would like water or tea. Neither, thank you. This is a silent festival. Singrejan polling station, and quite a lot of men everywhere. We don't see the women, but they must be there somewhere. A few scattered ones here and there. Here they are, voting peacefully. In the morning, we were both optimistic, though confused. We started with my neighborhood, Duncan Bosti. The atmosphere was calm. Polling had started at 7 a.m. We started at 12 p.m. We were late. Most one-time genuine voters had already cast their vote in the morning. Now all we saw were groups of young voters carrying bunches of voter slips. "Come on," said one to their group. "Nothing will happen. Just go in quickly and finish it off." These groups of young people were casting votes on behalf of others on the electoral list in the polling station. This is often referred to as proxy voting. Each person gets the golden opportunity to vote more than once in the system. They get paid by electoral candidates for each vote they can deny another voter. Everyone understands the system and plays their part. It is a peaceful festival. This is Doyapur, GMS Doyapur, PS51. It's 3 p.m. and they say the voting is finished here already. Behind me is Assam Rifles camp and they won't let me shoot there, but 3 p.m. voting done, 87% voting. We carried on and reached another model polling station. It was located right next to a church. "This must be a clean election area," I said. My colleague laughed. When we reached it, the booth level officer quickly came out and showed us the CCTV footage of calm inside the station. The village council does not allow anyone from outside to enter the village during polling. No one is allowed to drink alcohol. My colleague pointed to a boy in the queue and asked, "Is he even 18? "Yes, of course," came the reply. "You can speak to the village council chairperson if you want to know," said the officer. "Sure," we said. We were led to the chairman wearing a BJP card round his neck. A necklace. "All is good here," he said. "It is a beautiful festival." It was time to go further away. Perhaps there's tension brewing in Doyapur, we thought. The competition there was stiff between the ruling party's current candidate and its ex-candidate. So we head there. At Singrejan, voting was going on rather peacefully under the watchful eyes of a busload of Nagaland police personnel deployed by the state. "Voting is free and fair here," said an agent of the ruling party candidate. Their opponents could not be seen, leave alone us hearing from them. Instead, we looked for a place to relieve our bladders. We found one reserved for security personnel. In relief, we agreed that this is an agreeable festival. Still no trouble though. We went further to Doyapur. There came our first roadblock. We were asked by the fully armed Assam Rifles personnel to lower the camera and get off the bike, write down our names and phone number on a small, unofficial booklet and explain ourselves. What were we doing there? We were on election duty. "But who are you?" they asked me. I had not yet removed my mask. Yet, they promptly said, "You are non-Naga. Where are you from? Where do you vote? What are you doing here?" I told them everything I could. The Assam Rifles is a paramilitary force of the government of India. It operates under the martial law called the Armed Forces Special Powers Act. This has been placed in the Naga area since 1958. At politically opportune moments, they have been removed from some district or the other, but never from all the Naga areas. As per this law, these armed forces can use any means or force, even to kill you, if they find you suspect. This assessment can be based on their opinion of you. Even a non-commissioned officer is allowed to do so. It was good that the Assam Rifles stood there as a reminder of how elections in Nagaland are conducted under army rule. It is conducted as a festival in a place where humans who live here do not have the fundamental right to life. A few steps away, the Dimapur polling station has finished polling for the day. It was 3 p.m. 87% of the electorate had already voted. This is a successful festival. Impressed by the festival's goodness, we diverted and visited the Dhansiri River, around which Imkong had spent his vacations as a child. Stories were everywhere. The river had receded, growing up with older cousins. Conflict was turned casual as they grew up. It was everywhere, every day. Children, teens, adults, all fell to addiction. If you were lucky, he said, you could escape with severe punishment. The rest didn't make it. At least 2 generations of their men lost their lives, either completely or lived with partial lives. Many men rose to power as bureaucrats, legislators, village council leaders, tribe council leaders, contractors, advisors, whatnot. Women held their families together through that time. They worked in markets, they worked at home, they worked as moral police, they worked as lullaby singers. They studied and became bureaucrats. Many left the state. 4 of them contested the elections to the no-woman Nagaland Legislative Assembly this year. I plan to publish this piece before the election results are announced on March 2nd. 2 newspapers today have carried exit polls as part of their lead news on their front pages. The Nagaland Post and Eastern Mirror have cited exit polls that suggest that the ruling parties will come back to power. They have also reported the violence that marked polling day in pockets of the state. More than 83% voters have cast their vote. The Nagaland page has a report on this and a second lead on the proxy voting that flooded the polls. Proxy voting is the practice of casting someone else's vote. The Morung Express called out the Nagaland Legislative Assembly elections for what they are. Their lead news item on their front page on February 28th was titled Nagaland Elections, a Festival of Proxies. I will read out parts of the report with permission from the Morung Express. Hope you all will take note of the piece as you enjoy a ride through the streets of Dimapur. Tuesday, February 28th, 2023, the Morung Express. Headline, Nagaland Elections, a Festival of Proxies, by Morung Express News, reporting from Dimapur. Elections in Nagaland have repeatedly been marred by allegations of votes being bought and sold along with proxy voting. Despite calls for clean election, the cycle of such vote trading seems to have continued even in the present election. On February 27th, as the state went to polls to fill the 60-member Nagaland Legislative Assembly, the Morung Express visited some polling stations at various assembly constituencies. The purpose was to get a first-hand report of the electoral process. During the visits, questions related to the church-backed clean election movement were either met with knowing smiles or silence. Some even confessed ignorance about the movement and claimed to not know that proxy voting is illegal. Voting through proxy needs to be understood contextually. Under electoral law, vote for service voters, for example, armed forces, can be made through proxy after due authorization under guidelines laid down by the Election Commission of India. It is to be noted that proxy voting in the context of this report refers to those that are cast outside the purview of the Election Commission of India's guidelines. At a polling station in Kukidolong, under Ghaspani 2 Assembly constituency, a voter waiting to exercise his franchise with 3 others insisted that he was voting with free will. According to him, poll agents of different parties approached him with incentives. However, an agent of a particular political party promised development after election, and that is the basis on which they were casting votes. The current election was little cleaner than before, he maintained. In this polling station, out of 460 votes, 300 had been cast by 12:30 p.m. Despite such assertions, there were others in the queue complaining that they had not been able to get even one round of voting done, while others were repeating, indicating that proxy voting was happening in the polling station. An account given by a polling agent also cast some doubts. Till last night, our chance was better. But things changed in the last minute, he rued, listing villages, areas where the party was expected to perform well. What to do? Even if we spend much, things can change in the 11th hour, he reasoned. In the festival of democracy, the jamboree of proxies was not far behind, and the initiation starts early. In Shimukidima, a group of first-time voters said that they were voting based on capabilities of the candidate. However, when asked to pose for a photo with the indelible election ink, they insisted that they were not marked. In the background, a person called out for another round of voting. Another group of voters, mostly women, answered that some of them have voted, while others are waiting, uncomfortably trying to hide their fingers. Morning pra marishe, etto kabhi panai. I've been voting all morning, but haven't received a single rupee, a tipsy man complained to his companion. Kun laga naam ase na jane, hole bhi marishe. Don't know whose name it is, but I voted, another man was heard telling his companion. In the milieu, there were polling agents of different parties trying their best to get votes for their candidates. Further along the queue, the Morung Express also witnessed a man asking an acquaintance to stand in line at a polling station nearby. Nonchalantly, he handed a rupees 500 note, explaining awkwardly, "This is not for the purpose." By afternoon, one thing was clear. Most genuine voters were gone. Only proxies lingered. Meanwhile, in Dimapur 3 Assembly constituency, a group of women was seen carrying more than one voter slip outside the polling booth in Purana Bazaar, waiting for the opportune time to enter their proxy votes. Another individual was already standing at the front of the queue after already casting his vote, while the rest of the people were yet to cast their own genuine votes. Similar scenes were observed in several polling stations in Padampukhri and Purana Bazaar. At one polling station, a few people were seen instructing their companions on how to cast proxy votes once inside the polling booth. At a polling station in Dimapur, one assembly constituency, a group of 3 to 4 women were raising complaints that they had been waiting since 8 a.m. and had not been able to cast their votes. However, upon further inquiry, they revealed that most of them had already voted at least twice today. It's been very slow. At this rate, we cannot finish casting the votes we have with us, one of them said. When queried about practicing clean elections, she responded, Ineka movement to dhuni manno hi paribo. This movement can only be done by the rich. This is our only opportunity to get something from our candidate, who we'll see again the next election. She reasoned, even if we don't do it, they'll find someone else to do it. I have received 7,000 rupees today and still more to get. Dukan laka stock kinivo. I will buy stock for my shop, one of her companions commented. All the women in the group claimed they were not aware that proxy voting is a punishable offence under the Indian Penal Code. A woman at another polling station in the same assembly constituency said that she had cast 8 votes, her own and 7 on behalf of her sister's family, who are out of station. I do not take any money for this, she clarified. The rate for proxies was allegedly rupees 500 and rupees 1,000 per vote here, according to her. Proxy voting was, however, not limited to areas in and around Dimapur. A voter from a constituency in Mogokchung revealed that he had entered the polling booth 4 times. His assigned duty at the particular polling station is over, he added. While most of the accounts were given by the electorate, polling officials also appear to be complicit. A polling official in Dimapur 2 Assembly constituency admitted that at least 50% of votes in his polling station were cast by proxies. Out of the 190 electors enrolled in the polling station, about 160 votes were cast in the particular location. Similarly, an official from a polling station in Ghaspani too also admitted that out of the 80% turnout, a sizable portion of votes were proxies. There are approximately 700 voters in the polling station. Apart from this, the Morong Express also reported how skirmishes broke out in several places across Nagaland, including Mokokchung, Wokha, Mon, Zinabuto, and Seminyo. However, several of my own sources told me how they have been able to cast their votes, making sure to stand in queues from early morning hours. Many others did not want to take part in this exercise that often left a bitter taste for many. Much appreciation must also go out to polling officers who spread out across the state to the most remote parts of the state. They set up their polling stations from the night of February 26th, making sure they were ready with their paperwork and electronic voting machines by 5 a.m. on February 27. They started with mock polls first, followed by the actual polling from 7 a.m. Many polling officers were intimidated by village council members to follow their instructions to ensure maximum polling from their stations. This was to ensure a high voting percentage. The officers ensured they completed their works, submitting their electronic voting machines to their respective district magistrate offices. Most had barely had the time to eat the entire day. Many of them had passed out. Many had left their children at home to study on their own for the upcoming exams or ongoing exams. The officers will be required again during the counting exercise on March 2nd. Appreciation also goes out to the clean election movement. Led by the churches of Nagaland, they raised considerable awareness on how and why to cast votes in a respectable and intelligent manner. Though this needs to be backed by government mechanisms to control fraudulent exercises during voting, The clean election campaign stood strong where the government lagged. If you have reached this part of the video, please help me thank the Morong Express by subscribing to them. Please take a look at their work on YouTube as well as their website. You will find the links to these in the description box of this video. The work of this news institution has facilitated this entire video as well as much of the work I have done in the past. I acknowledge and honor the commitment and generosity of their entire team of journalists and non-journalists led by their editor. Thank you and see you soon.